Welcome to another FPL video. Now, this is not going to be your typical preview. I'll be doing that closer to the deadline. What I'm going to be doing instead is discussing my transfer plans over the next couple of weeks. And I've already posted this in the community tab section, some of these potential transfers, but the important details is what I'm going to be explaining in this video, and also the timing, because the timing is very crucial. Some of the players I still have, they've got some great fixtures coming up, and I don't want to get rid of them before obviously these games, because they can still get some big hauls and I don't want to regret making the transfers in the end. So I'll be discussing my team, how it did in game week 8 and all the usual stuff. But instead of showing my team for game week 9, which I'll be doing in a future video, I'm just going to be talking about my transfer plans, which is probably the most important part over this international break. And those with a wildcard have that advantage, but I don't know. I don't even know if I would wildcard in this situation, because I'm happy with my team, but there are just a few little pieces which I would like to change. And obviously some of them depend on fitness, which I'll obviously be discussing. But without further ado, I got 64 points and I took a -4 hit for the likes of Zuma and Wilson. And to be honest, I didn't actually lose any points from it because Saiss didn't even play. And same with Ings, one because of injury and the other one because they've pretty much lost their spot. But not gaining any points from that hit is frustrating, because the others didn't even play a game. And Wilson is now injured, and that's a bit of an injury concern. It could be a long time. We'll have to wait and see what the scan says, but hopefully it is fine. And Zuma, just didn't get the clean sheet, and with Sheffield did an amazing bit of play to get their goal, but apart from that, didn't do too much else afterwards. But Martinez in goal, got the clean sheet against Arsenal, and to be honest, he wasn't troubled at all. Didn't even have to make that many saves. But Arsenal really should have scored at least a goal or two, but poor finishing, poor creativity, and good for my FPL though. Got Martinez, and finally he's produced for me, because ever since I got him in, he got 3 points and then 0, and now we got the 6-pointer against Arsenal, and he's got some great fixtures coming up. And the thing with Villa is they can still get some good results against big teams, and Martinez I still think is one of the best keeping options out there. Moving on to the defence, I have to say Robertson, very disappointing. Ever since I got him in, that's 3 blanks in a row. But against Manchester City, you don't really expect a return. I'm going to have to evaluate this guy over the next couple, because I'm not that stubborn into thinking, you know what, even if this guy keeps getting 1 and 2 pointers, I have to have him in my team, because there could be that 1 week he hauls. It's not going to be worth it if he gets, let's say, 10 to 15 points in a week, if for the last 4, 5, 6 game weeks he gets 1 or 2, because you want points from a £7 million defender. You need the points, you need the clean sheets, you need the attack and returns. And recently he hasn't been delivering on either. But we'll have to wait and see there. And I want to give him at least 2 free game weeks. But if he just doesn't do it, then it might have to be time to go. But the fixtures are reasonably good up until game week 18. That's the thing. But I think Salah is probably good enough cover, if not having Salah and Mane. But I'll be discussing more of that later. But Robertson, very, very disappointing. And as for Zuma, apart from the goal threat you get from set pieces, you're going to be relying on clean sheets for points. But he tends to produce every 2 free games, so not too concerned. I will be doubling up on Chelsea defence. They've got some tough fixtures coming up, but in some of these games they can still get some great returns, even if you have a double Chelsea defence for this little period. But Kurt Zuma, obviously, ideally you would want a haul similar to what he did against Burnley when he got 14 points, but just wasn't meant to be. Still, I think he's one of the best FPL assets in defence. If you can't afford Chilwell, him or Reece James are the next best things. And I did have Reece James before, but on a wildcard I got him out, and ever since he's actually started playing a lot. So sometimes when you play these early wildcards, these differences in teams and team selection can happen, so you've got to take that into account. Kyle Walker-Peters, one of the standouts of the week, got 3 bonus points, a clean sheet against Newcastle, so at least I got something good from that game where I had Wilson in. But very happy with him. And him and Vestergaard, I think you have to, I don't say you have to have one of them, or McCarthy, but having one Southampton defender is ideal, because they've got the joint most clean sheets this season, and they just offer great value at around 4.5 million, and then you have Vestergaard at 4.7 now, but they're just great value. And some people actually doubling up on Southampton defence, and they're bearing the fruits of that. But some very tough fixtures coming up, and this is why I got rid of McCarthy on the wildcard anyway, because they had some very tough games. And it just gets even worse now. I wouldn't be expecting too many clean sheets. I'm not going to be playing Kyle Walker-Peters too often. But in games like Brighton and Sheffield, yeah, potentially. But all the others, yeah, I don't think so. And that's not to say anything because, I mean, I had Lamptey and he got 1 point against West Brom. I'd take him out and then he gets 9 points against Spurs and then a clean sheet against Burnley. So, yeah, fixtures aren't everything. So don't just look at colours and then just base all of your transfers on that because fixtures only tell one part of the story. The form and then the teams and how they're set up and everything, they tell another. And they give you the full picture. But Kyle Walker-Peters, I still think is a great asset. I'm not going to get rid of him just because he's got pretty much a wave of red fixtures coming up because he's still fantastic value at 4.5, arguably one of the best, that you can get around that price. And moving on to the midfield, Son very disappointing, but to be honest, I think West Brom should have got more out of that game. And Spurs, I called it during the game, and it doesn't mean I'm a football expert, but West Brom didn't take their chances. It literally just takes one chance from any of Spurs attackers and then they score a goal towards the end of the game. And that's what happened. Right at the death, Kane scores the goal. But Son just didn't do anything. And it was between him and Kane for the captaincy. I ended up going for Kane and I'm happy I did because he was pretty much my joint highest producing player. So yeah, I got the captaincy decision right. At least I'm getting that sort of bit nailed. But then now, as I keep mentioning over the last few videos and my previews, look at the fixtures coming up, and Kane is fixture-proof in my opinion this season. And for all of those who just think, yeah, I definitely have to get rid, just look at his last few games. He's returned every single time since game week 2. He's on a great run, and he has some double-digit returns in him. I know it tends to be against the weaker teams, but Man United, yeah, they have been pretty poor this season, especially at home. But Kane can still get some monster hauls against, the next few teams coming up. So I wouldn't rule it out at all. Literally took one goal against West Brom and he got 9 points. So yeah, I still think Kane is fantastic value. And I will admit, over after the first 4 or 5 game weeks, I said Son is better value for money. And I still think he arguably is. But in my case, I want to get rid of one Spurs attacker, and I have to say Son is probably the most likely to get out. And also Kane is less owned, even though that's not really as important, but he's owned by less people than Son. He's on penalties. He's more consistent. He's got better statistics than Son. And to be honest, in the striking position, I know there are a lot of options. You have Che Adams, you have Danny Ings when he comes back. You still have Jimenez, who is still a good option. You've got Calvert-Lewin, you've got Callum Wilson, you've got Watkins, you've got Bamford, Antonio. You've got a lot of options up front, but I have to say the difference between Kane and the rest is there's a big margin in terms of that. But when you look at Son and the rest of the midfielders, you've got the likes of Salah who are still keeping up with him, Grealish, Bruno Fernandes, who also got the fixtures to, pile on top of that. So in my opinion, Kane is the one worth keeping at the moment, but things can change. And Son has a great record against City, so for all of you who have taken him out or who are about to take him out for that game, just bear that in mind because he can do very well against City, and I will be keeping him for that. But yeah, Son in the long term, probably not going to be a mainstay in my team. Grealish, once again, he's a great player, but Arsenal made him look like he was Kevin De Bruyne, Messi, whoever you want to put, because this guy was allowed to dominate the game, and he did, and he got the assist. And to be honest, he should have got the assist for the disallowed goal, I believe. And in the end, he obviously got ruled out, so no points for that. No bonus points as well, but still, Grealish is a great option. Great fixtures coming up, and he's the type who he can produce in the fixtures where they're marked red also. So not too much of a concern. Around his price, I keep on saying it, he's the best at that price. You're going to get inconsistency, of course. You look at Aston Villa, they're an inconsistent team. You look at Grealish, he's fairly inconsistent as a result of the team being inconsistent. But at 7.4 million, it's between him and Zaha for the best value options. And I have to say, Grealish is the best at that price, and that's why I've got him. And that's one of the good things I did get from my wildcard, along with, I'd say, Martinez. But we'll see how they do in the long run. As for James Rodriguez, very disappointing. I held him through all of his injuries and stuff and all of his injury doubts, and he just hasn't produced in a very long time. And it feels like a lifetime ago that he got those 18 points against Brighton. But 3 great fixtures coming up. After that, though, I have to say that I'm not saying that he can't get points against the likes of Chelsea, Leicester, Arsenal, etc. But I think there are better value options at this moment in time. He's just not producing as much as he was in the first 4 or 5 game weeks. And I think his cycle might be up. And it's also another case in my team where I have a double Everton attack along with a double Spurs attack, and I want to add a bit of variety and spice into my midfield and attack. So Rodriguez is another one that I've pretty much highlighted as one to go. I prefer Calvert-Lewin because, speaking of the guy, he did get the assist, even though a bit questionable how he got the assist, but he's just consistent and he scores in most games. Most goals and attacks go through him. And James Rodriguez, he could have a great game and he could still get no points. But with Calvert-Lewin, if he has a great game, he's probably going to be on the end of the score sheet. So yeah, he's someone, even after those 3 easy games and then it kind of turns for the worse for Everton, I still would like to hold Calvert-Lewin, at least in this moment in time. So yeah, hopefully he doesn't get injured. Hopefully he remains fit and hopefully he keeps on firing. Even against United, I think he looked decent. He's just isolated. And he was left off to fend off the likes of Maguire and Lindelof. So, yeah, he's someone I would like to keep ideally for the long term. And then we look at Salah. He's on penalties. He got 2 bonus points, scored the penalty against Man City in a crucial game. So, yeah, that's the thing. The last 2 games, really, he's got 17 points. And to be honest, it's from penalties because apart from that, didn't score, didn't assist. So, yeah, with Mohamed Salah, he's just a great option because even if he has a bad game or if he's not really influencing the game too much, he can still get points. And he's on penalties, and Liverpool do get a lot of penalties. He's got some good fixtures coming up. I'm not gonna change things for the sake of it and get rid of this guy. I'm just gonna keep him, and he's gonna be my captain for a long time, or at least in quite a few of these game weeks coming up. So yeah, he's just one of those reliable options that you can always have. As for the attack, Callum Wilson, like I mentioned before, very disappointing, and no one knows actually that when he's actually going to come back, but hopefully it's very soon. And this also will play a part in my transfer plans because if he is injured for a long time, then I'll have to get a replacement, and obviously I'll be highlighting some of the best replacements for him around this price. But yeah, it's a big shame because he's been doing so well this season. He's on penalties as well. And before the Southampton game, he had the highest expected goals of any player, even highest expected goal involvements of any striker, all of this. And he was carrying the Newcastle attack, but Newcastle just looked so bad, even when he was on the pitch. And he went off. But hopefully, fingers crossed, he's fine. We'll have to wait and see what the scan brings. As for my bench, I pretty much did the right decision. Didn't really miss out on anything. If anything, I pretty much got it spot on with the bench. But yeah, Kilman's still a fantastic option around 4 million. The only thing is that maybe after conceding that penalty, he might lose a spot. But I don't know. With Wolves, I don't want to have too many headaches. I'm not going to bring in a Wolves defender because look at their fixtures. They're absolutely awful. They can get some points, but yeah, it's not likely. But Kilman, still my team, even if he gets dropped, to be honest. And looking at my transfer plans now, this is the main thing about the video. I have to say, these are all obviously dependent on the circumstances and just different things can happen. In maybe a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks time, I may feel differently. I may not want 1 or 2 of these players, but some of them I've just been completely swayed by for a long time, and I'm pretty adamant of getting them in, so I'll be explaining. So the keepers, I'd be keeping the same. Of course, I'm not going to make unnecessary transfers on that. On a wildcard, though, I would say for those of you who will be wildcarding, I think Mendy, Martinez and McCarthy are the best options you can go for. I know Mendy's expensive at 5 million, but just Chelsea are one of the best in terms of getting clean sheets and the best defences in the league. Even if you have a double up with him and Chilwell or Zuma or Reece James, etc., I think it is worth it. So those 3 keepers I've highlighted. McCarthy doing very well. The only thing with him is that his fixtures are awful and I wouldn't be expecting too many clean sheets. So if you do have McCarthy and you're not wildcarding, just hold them. Don't make unnecessary transfers. As for the likes of Martinez, you would expect more points in the future with their fixture run. And as for Mendy, they've got some tough games coming up as well. But Chelsea and Mendy, that's pretty much like a mainstay for the rest of the season, to be honest. So those are the 3 I would highlight. And then just get a £4 million keeper. Unless you like the rotation policy between keepers and having maybe Martinez and McCarthy, fair enough. But you can be on the wrong end of the decisions and benching the wrong guy who gets more points. and that could leave you very frustrated. So just bear that in mind with goalkeepers. This season, I've decided to play it simple and just play Martinez, and that's it. And no problems, no headaches with the keepers. I just focus on the outfield players. Now, as for the defence, Kilman, definitely in. And if you're on a wild card, I would still say bring him in, because around that price, you're not going to get someone better. The only downside is that he could lose his spot, because really it is his spot to lose. But with his performance against Leicester, it does put his spot in a bit of doubt. Maybe Saiss can regain that position. You never know. And I would recommend having one Southampton defender, as I do. Vestergaard is probably the one you would want to go for, because ever since this guy has come in, he's actually done very well. He's pretty much got 6-7 points consistently, so he's done very well. But Walker-Peters, he could also be on the bonus points system, and that's what he did against Newcastle. He got so many tackles in, so many passes. I read somewhere that he had around like 90 to 99% pass accuracy or something. Absolutely crazy. But yeah, the only thing is with Southampton, like I said, similar to Wolves, very tough games coming up. You probably wouldn't want to play this guy for most of the games that are going to be on the horizon. And as for Cancelo, I know you might see this and think, well, that's a bit odd, he could be rotated. That's the only downside, in my opinion, with Cancelo. But if he plays, I think he's FPL gold. And obviously against Liverpool, he did blank. But before that, he's only played 3 games and he's done well in all of them. And I think it's a good replacement for maybe the likes of Zuma or Robertson. But obviously, ideally, if you don't have Chilwell, yeah, definitely move to Chilwell. If you have Robertson or Trent Alexander-Arnold and you want to get rid of them, because yeah, this guy is the real deal. I mean, I could also, to be honest, just keep Robertson, and there's no Cancelo. But then the alternative would have to be downgraded somewhere else. So I'll be explaining that. As for Chilwell, I have to say I've got him in already. So before his price went up to 6 million this morning, I did get him in, because he's someone that I wanted from time ago. And I have to say, ideally I wanted to make the move from Saiss to Chilwell, but I couldn't. So I literally made a sideways move technically to Zuma, and I wanted that Chelsea cover for the games that they had. So Sheffield and then Newcastle away, Tottenham, Leeds, etc. But because of Ings' injury, that gave me even more funds, because I downgraded to Wilson. And now I'm able to get Chilwell in. I brought him in for Strauch. So it's a huge upgrade. But then I also have Zuma at the same time. So yeah, sometimes making early transfers, it does backfire, because something else may happen in your team. You get more funds, and then you can get your ideal player, and then you're stuck maybe with someone that maybe you don't need so much anymore. And that's what's happened with me. So it is an error of judgment on my behalf. But I still think double Chelsea defence can be viable in some of these games, and they can get some big points. But the point is that in the long term, Zuma probably wouldn't stay in my team now. But Chilwell, on the other hand, if he remains fit, this guy, yeah, he's produced in every single game. Even this 3 points against Southampton, he got an assist for that. And the only reason he got a low points tally is because of the 3 goals conceded. So Chilwell, definitely get him in. I know he's 6 million now. That might seem expensive, but for the clean sheet potential, the attacking threat that he constantly poses, I can't watch a Chelsea game without owning Chilwell, I have to be honest. It's bordering on Marcos Alonso territory from the 2017 season when they won the league, or Robertson and Trent over years gone by. So yeah, Chilwell's in already, so this is not really a transfer plan. It's already done for game week 9. And Kufau is the other guy. Now, this guy could literally come in for Robertson or Zuma, respectively, same with Cancelo. But these 2 transfers I wouldn't be making as of yet. These would be further down the line to enable that move to the likes of Kevin De Bruyne, Bruno Fernandes or Sterling for that premium midfielder spot. But this guy has been fantastic. I could also get Cresswell, to be honest. I would like one West Ham defender, but I'll be honest. With an FPL asset, trust is the most important thing if you trust your players. Now, the likes of Kufau and Cresswell are good assets this season so far, but West Ham, I don't trust so much. So it's very hard to gauge when to play the defenders and start them, because I might get it wrong. I might judge West Ham completely wrong, and let's say I play him against Sheffield and he blanks, and then I bench him against Man United at home and then they win. So who actually knows at this point? But a West Ham defender are around 4.5 million. I think Kufau's fantastic, a fantastic bargain. There is also Masuaku. The only thing I will say to that, and I keep saying it when people ask me who should I get from West Ham, Masuaku ideally is probably actually better than Kufal because of his attacking threat and he plays more advanced. But the problem with Masuaku is if they switch to a back four in certain games to maybe attack more, Masuaku's probably going to lose his spot because Kufal's got that right back slash right wing back slash right mid spot nailed on. But with the likes of Masuaku, he's got Creswell as well to contend with for left wing back. So yeah, it could be problems there. Also, Masuaku is a bit injury prone over the years. Kufal, I'm not so sure, but I don't think he is. But yeah, a West Ham defender is still very, very good to go for. They've got great fixtures to come up. So on a wild card, yeah, definitely, I'd say give them a chance. But it's West Ham. West Ham can be very, very disappointing and very unpredictable sometimes. That's all I'm going to say on that. Now, as for the midfield, I'm definitely more convinced about these moves. And yeah, Grealish staying in my team. And if you don't have him already, I'd say get him in. Even if you have Barkley, might seem like a sideways move in my opinion. It's not. Barkley got a great assist, have to give him credit for that against Arsenal. But Grealish, every attack goes through him. If Villa score goals, more likely than not, Grealish is involved. And for that price, yes, it's FPL gold in my opinion. A 4.5 million midfielder. If not, you could go to someone like Souček, who got a 9-pointer against Fulham. There are options around, the cheap bracket, but I'm just sticking with Bissouma, and it's a great enabler. And the last time he came off my bench, he got 9 points. So, yeah, well done to Bissouma. Salah, there's no point really discussing this guy. He's got the fixtures. He's a captain option every single time. He's fixture-proof. He can score home and away. He's on penalties. Move on, basically. Literally it. So if you have Mane already, unless you're on a wild card, I wouldn't switch because he's also a fantastic option. But I just prefer Salah. I have preferred him all season. Last season, I was a bit more towards Mane. This season, it's Salah. Clear as day, in my opinion. Now, these are the two choices that I have now. I'm pretty set on Ziyech. He's the James Rodriguez replacement. But what I am thinking of doing is for Game Week 11, when Spurs have Chelsea away, technically, on Game Week 10, sorry, I will be bringing Ziyech in for Son. So I diversify the attack and I get on the Ziyech wave very soon. Now, I wanted this guy from Game Week 1. If you check my first draft video, he is in there. But because he got injured in a preseason game against Brighton, I had to get rid of this guy. And yeah, 8 million, 8.1 million. He's going to go up soon. Just fantastic value. And he's the like-for-like replacement for James Rodriguez. And I think he's going to do very well. And in terms of Chelsea attack, I have to say he's probably the best. And the last 2 games, he's just done very well. And that's back-to-back double-digit returns. 2 starts and 2 big returns. Even in the Champions League, I know he blanked in his last game, but if you look at match day 2 of Champions League, another fantastic performance. And that's what Ziyech can do. He's a wizard. He's one of the best players in the league, in my opinion. He's Chelsea's best player. And yeah, I'd like to get him as soon as possible, to be honest. Taking a hit for him, though, I'm not sure because Rodriguez has the fixtures for the next 3. And then you look at Son against Man City. He has a great record. He can do very well there. So I wouldn't want to take a hit. But it's still an option. And on a wild card, I'd say definitely get this guy in. And there was someone who actually had a Pulisic injury. And when I was discussing it with him, I said, you know what, in my opinion, you should just get Ziyech, especially if you want a Chelsea midfielder. They were actually considering Mount and the likes of Mount, Lucas Moura. And I'm like, no, just get Ziyech. And yeah, I regret telling him that, to be honest, because he's in my little private league, but whatever. Anyway, Ziyech, fantastic option, I have to say. He's probably my next transfer in, but the kind of contingency, or should I say the downside or potential, the thing that changes my mind is the striker. So if Callum Wilson is out for time, I have to get a striker in, and I have to say there's the likes of Bamford, Watkins, as I mentioned before, Che Adams, Antonio. He should be fit, I think, for Game Week 10. So there are a lot of options around the 6 million price bracket, but I have to say, ideally, I'd want to keep Wilson. I don't want to just spend another -4 or just spend another free transfer on my striker, because ideally what I want from these 3 strikers is a solid base and I just keep them the same. They rack in the points. Ideally, pretty much at least one of them returns every single week, which hasn't really been happening so far, which is good. But I don't want to keep chopping and changing my striker. I want to literally mainly change just my midfield and defence if need be, and be on top of, the new patterns. And Ziyech is a prime example of that. So Hopefully Wilson is back. So if he is, I'm keeping Wilson. But if Wilson is injured for a long time, what I may do is just hold Wilson for, let's say, game week 9 and take no hit. And then for game week 10, get someone like Bamford in. So all of those strikers I mentioned, they're all possible replacements for Wilson. But I'll have to wait and see with the injury. Hopefully it's not too bad. Otherwise, that's a very poor -4 because I literally get a net point of 0 from my -4. And I just get another injury concern to, cause me a headache. So, yeah. So if Bamford... or should I say, if Wilson is injured, then yeah, I have to say the striker option is going to be my next change, and I might have to keep Son for yet another week. But if not, I may take a -4 for game week 10, which is looking further ahead, and I get Ziyech and the likes of Bamford in for Son and Callum Wilson. So we'll have to wait and see there. Now, the last thing that you can see in my team, because Kane and Calvert-Lewin are pretty much set in my team, and only on a wildcard would I consider changing them, but I probably won't. I would like to keep them. The last piece of the jigsaw is this, Kevin De Bruyne. Now, a lot of people are going to be jumping on Man City after the game against Tottenham, and you look at this fixture run, it's not just game week 10 to 14, it's all the way until game week 22, and then they have a very tough period of games. But I have to say, the thing that kind of puts me off, and it's not the Liverpool game, it's not the fact that Kevin De Bruyne missed a penalty, it's just City have been struggling to score goals like they were last season. They're not free-flowing. They're kind of more conservative, a bit more resolute defensively, and they're not creating as many chances. However, I will say over the past 3-4 game weeks, they have been putting some good statistics and they should be scoring more. They've been a bit unlucky, if anything, to not score more than 1 goal a game. But regardless, from game week 4 to 8, that's 5 games, they haven't scored more than a goal in those 5 games, and some of them you would expect. The likes of Leeds, the likes of West Ham, even Arsenal maybe, Sheffield, you'd expect more than 1 goal. Even Liverpool, when they played them a few months back, towards the end of last season, they beat them 4-0 at the Etihad. So it is a bit concerning, but yeah, if De Bruyne scores that penalty, everyone's jumping on him, even now against Tottenham, to be honest. So the thing with this position is it's between De Bruyne, Sterling and Bruno Fernandes for that premium midfielder spot. Now, Son still has more goals. He's got more points than all of them. Why change? Well, to be honest, I want to diversify the attack, like I said, and I want to be on top of the fixture swing. And De Bruyne has a very, very good fixture swing that coincidentally coincides with Spurs' fixture swing, which goes negatively, obviously. But I don't know, I need to see more from City. So over the next 2 or 3, I could evaluate and then finally decide. But Bruno Fernandes, let's just take a look at this guy's form. At home, very disappointing. I don't think he's produced so far. Only Tottenham, the penalty he got in the first half. But away from home, this guy has never blanked in the Premier League. He's averaged, I think, 10 away points per game, which is insane. And yeah, he's got 10 goals in 10 away games in the Premier League, in his Premier League career so far, and 4 assists. And that's a competition record. So yeah, for Man United, he's the main guy. And obviously, Rashford is good value, but for that extra million, I do think Bruno is worth it. I have to say that. But yeah, they've got some good fixtures coming up. But it's mainly the away games I'm looking to for captaincy in terms of Bruno Fernandes. So it's between Bruno, De Bruyne and Sterling for that final midfield spot. Ziyech I'm pretty much set on as a replacement for Rodriguez. But like I said, remember, he's going to be replacing Son for game week 9, or should I say game week 10. And then the likes of De Bruyne or Bruno will be coming in for Rodriguez, but it's really a Son replacement, if you see what I mean. And the only reason I'm holding on to Rodriguez is for those next 3 fixtures. I don't want to be losing out on points because I was just too quick to, jump the gun and hit the bullet, so to speak, or hit the button. So that is, the transfer plans I have. So the likes of Cancelo, Kufau in defence, then the likes of Bruno or De Bruyne and Ziyech in midfield, and if need be, Bamford for Wilson, which is a bit unfortunate. I have to say, the wild card I did play, looking back on it now, probably unsuccessful, but I do think that Ings getting injured is a big part of it being unsuccessful, because if he's still there, I don't need to make another striker transfer, but obviously injuries happen, so hindsight is a wonderful thing. And yeah, it wouldn't have opened up all of these moves, to be honest, in defence and midfield. But maybe I shouldn't have gone for Ings in the first place. But I don't know, he just produced for me in those 2 game weeks that I had him for. And yeah, hopefully he gets well soon. It's a shame that he got injured. A fantastic player. And now that I get Wilson in, he gets injured as well. It's a bit of misfortune, but at the same time, taking a hit for Wilson was always going to be a risk. I was contemplating just holding the transfer and then waiting, and maybe that would have been the smarter thing to do. And that's something that I'll probably do for Game Week 9, if I'm being honest. And I'll be revealing my final team, obviously, in my preview, which will come probably around sometime next week during the international break. But the transfer plans, to sum it up quickly, just like I put in the community tab, if Wilson is fit, then I'm going to be holding him for sure. But if he's injured, I'll probably still hold him, but then get rid of him for Game Week 10 so I don't take any hit, because I've already got Chilwell in for Strauch. And I'll be bringing in the likes of Bamford or Watkins or Che Adams or Antonio as my third striker, and they'll be coming in. And I could potentially take a -4 for that Game Week 10, and I'll bring in Ziyech for Son. And then after that, I could take another -4 for Game Week 11, or if not, wait until Game Week 12, and I'll get in the likes of Cancelo or Kufau on defence, replacing Zuma or Robertson, and then I can get in either Bruno or De Bruyne for that midfield spot. I have to say I'm not too convinced with Sterling this season. I think it's between De Bruyne or Bruno Fernandes, and to be honest, if you're asking me now, I'm leaning more towards Bruno Fernandes because United are scoring more goals than City at the moment. Bruno's away record is just stunning, and he's a great captaincy option. And with Man City, I'm not sure I would captain them, to be honest. I know they've got the fixtures, but would I captain De Bruyne in some of these games? Yeah, maybe Fulham at home, Burnley at home, but I just haven't seen enough from City and De Bruyne in terms of FPL points and returns this season for me to just be like, you know what, just like last season, if De Bruyne's at home, I'm captaining him, end of. Like, I can't bring myself to do that. So for that price, you want to have captaincy options, and that's why a lot of you have gotten rid of Kane or want to get rid of him. But I just think Kane is fixture proof, and he's one of the best FPL assets this season. So yeah, it's hard to move on someone like him. I'd even rather probably captain this guy for games such as Arsenal at home than De Bruyne in some of his easy games because of how the season has panned out so far. But yeah, De Bruyne could easily turn into Bruno Fernandes. But yeah, over the next 3-4 game weeks, that's my transfer plans. I could take maybe 2 -4s or something like that. It's not too bad, and I improve my team, I think, and I get on top of some of these fixture swings and also just some of these form players. And it's not just form, it's their quality. The likes of Ziyech, fantastic players, Bruno Fernandes, etc. But yeah, hopefully Wilson is fit, and I don't have to make that sideways move to someone like Bamford, because I would like to keep Wilson and just not think about it too much. But yeah, maybe the likes of Bamford, Watkins, Adams are better value. But yeah, before this game week, Wilson looked like the standout. We'll have to wait and see how everything pans out. But that is my team. And to be honest, if you were wildcarding, I would say this is probably what I would wildcard to if I had it still. But there are obviously some variables. Like I said, Cancelo is not a nailed-on guy, because no one in City apart from De Bruyne and Sterling are, and even they can be subject to being benched. So yeah, I'm very happy with my team, and I've been doing well, but I can do even better. And I've got the next few transfers planned out, and hopefully they go well. So let me know your transfer plans down in the comment section below. And in future, I'll be doing live streams, and I'll be talking to you all live about your teams and all of that. So that should be some fun. And if you enjoy this video, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new around here, and share this video around with your friends and family. But yeah, good luck with Game Week 9. But I have to say, just take a break if you can. If you need to make early transfers to get ahead of the price rises and stuff, go for it. But I will say, ideally, and I know I haven't really done it myself, but maybe wait until closer to the deadline. And the only reason I got Chilwell in is because I've been convinced about getting this guy for 3 or 4 weeks, and I've missed too many price rises, and I'm replacing him for Strauch, so I'm not really missing out on much, am I? So yeah, I'm happy with my team, and I've got the next few transfers planned out, and I think I plan to stay with those transfers and not change my mind too much. But yeah, there's a few variables in there, and we'll have to wait and see the big Callum Wilson news later this week. I'm not sure when that's going to be, but I will be posting a comment on this video, and I'll pin it to update all of you, because I know a lot of you will be owning Wilson, and he was your Danny Ings replacement. But yeah, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.